Alone in the Woods, my terrifying encounter with a psycho. Hey guys, I gotta share something real messed up that happened to me last summer. So, I'm not really used to telling stories, but I think you gotta hear this one. It's about this time I went camping in the woods, and let me tell you, it wasn't your usual camping trip. It all started when me and a couple of buddies decided to go camping. We wanted to get away from the city, just chill out in nature for a bit. So, we found this spot deep in the woods away from all the noise and hustle. Seemed like the perfect place to pitch our tents and crack open a few beers. First night was pretty chill. We roasted some marshmallows, told some dumb jokes, and just had a good time. But things started to get real weird the next day. I woke up early, like real early, and for some reason, I couldn't fall back asleep. So, I figured I'd take a walk around, check out the area. That's when I noticed something strange. There was this dude, just standing there, watching our campsite from a distance. At first, I thought maybe he was just another camper, doing his thing. But the way he was staring at us, it gave me the creeps. I tried to ignore it, went back to my tent, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. And boy, was I right. Later that day, when my buddies went fishing, I decided to stay back and chill at the campsite. That's when things went from weird to downright terrifying. I heard footsteps, heavy ones, like someone was stomping through the woods. I thought maybe it was just an animal or something, but then I saw him. The same dude from earlier, except this time, he was coming straight for me. I panicked. I mean, who wouldn't? I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a stick or something, and I yelled at him to back off. But he just kept coming with this creepy smile on his face. I knew I had to get out of there, so I booked it into the woods. But this dude, he was fast, like unnaturally fast. He chased me for what felt like hours, through bushes and trees, until I was completely lost. And just when I thought I couldn't run anymore, I stumbled upon this old cabin, like something straight out of a horror movie. I figured it was my only chance, so I ran inside and locked the door behind me. I could hear him outside, banging on the door, screaming all sorts of crazy stuff. I thought I was done for, but somehow he eventually gave up and left. I stayed in that cabin for what felt like forever, too scared to even move. Eventually, when I thought it was safe, I mustered up the courage to leave. But even then, I couldn't shake off the feeling that he was still out there, waiting for me. Long story short, I somehow managed to find my way back to civilization, but I'll never forget that night in the woods. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, and to this day, I still have nightmares about it. So yeah, if you ever go camping, make sure you watch your back. You never know who or what might be lurking in the shadows. The night we barely escaped the claws of death. Hey y'all, I ain't much of a writer, but something happened to me and my girl that I gotta get off my chest. We were out for a stroll in the woods one evening. Just me, my girl, and the chirping crickets. Seemed like a perfect night, you know? Little did we know, we were about to face the darkest terror of our lives. It was getting late, and the woods were getting darker by the minute. But we kept on walking, hand in hand, enjoying each other's company and the peacefulness of nature. Suddenly, we heard this rustling noise, like something big was moving through the bushes. My girl grabbed onto my arm, and I tried to act tough, but truth be told, I was scared out of my wits. Then we saw it. This massive beast, covered in shaggy fur, emerged from the shadows. A bear. My heart stopped cold. I ain't never been so close to one of them before, and I pray I never am again. We did the only thing we could think of. We turned and ran, but that bear was faster than lightning. It was like it was toying with us, getting closer and closer with each step. I could feel its hot breath on the back of my neck, smell the stench of its fur. I tripped over a root and hit the ground hard. My girl stopped and tried to help me up, but it was too late. That bear was on us in an instant, roaring like thunder. I could feel its claws tearing into my flesh, like hear my girl screaming for help. I thought we were done for, that we were goners for sure. But then, by some miracle, we managed to break free. I don't know how, but we did. Adrenaline pumping. We sprinted like our lives depended on it, because they did. We didn't stop running until we reached the safety of our car, panting and bloody and shaking like leaves in the wind. We were lucky to be alive, but we'll never forget the terror of that night. The night we were left for dead by a bear. So, if you ever find yourself wandering in the woods after dark, just remember our story. And pray you don't meet the same fate we almost did. My encounter with Bigfoot in the woods. Hey y'all. So, I ain't much of a writer or nothing, but I gotta tell y'all about the craziest thing that ever happened to me. Now, I ain't never been one to believe in all them spooky stories about ghosts and whatnot, but what I saw out in them woods that night, well, it still gives me the shivers just thinking about it. So, let me set the scene for y'all. It was a warm summer night, and me and my buddy Jake decided to head out into the woods just outside of town. Now, we'd been hearing all these rumors about Bigfoot being spotted around these parts, and being the adventurous types, we thought we'd try our luck and see if we could find old Bigfoot ourselves. Now, I gotta admit, I was feeling a little nervous as we made our way deeper into the woods. The trees were all tall and spooky looking, and the shadows they cast made it feel like something was watching us from the darkness. But me and Jake, we laughed it off, because we didn't really believe in all that superstitious nonsense. We must have been walking for a good couple of hours when we started hearing these strange noises coming from up ahead. It sounded like something big moving through the trees, cracking branches and snapping twigs like they was nothing. Now, I ain't gonna lie, my heart was racing at this point. But Jake, he just grinned and said it was probably just a bear or something harmless like that. But then, out of nowhere, we heard this loud roar echoing through the woods, and let me tell ya, it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. It was deep and guttural, like it was coming from something real big and real angry. Me and Jake, we froze in our tracks, staring at each other with wide eyes, because we both knew that whatever was out there, it sure as hell wasn't no bear. We must have stood there for what felt like hours, listening to that roar getting closer and closer, till finally we saw it. Bigfoot. Standing there in the moonlight, just a few feet away from us, staring at us with those big, dark eyes. Now, I ain't ashamed to admit it. I was scared out of my damn mind at that point, but something inside me just clicked, and before I knew it, I was raising my gun and taking aim. I ain't gonna go into too much detail about what happened next, because it still gives me nightmares just thinking about it. But let's just say, I did what I had to do to protect myself and Jake. And when it was all said and done, and Bigfoot was lying there on the forest floor, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over me. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. How could I kill something as legendary as Bigfoot? But let me tell ya, when you're out there in them woods, with nothing but darkness and danger all around you, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. And if that means taking down a mythological creature like Bigfoot, then so be it. So there you have it, folks. The story of how I came face to face with Bigfoot in the woods and lived to tell the tale. And let me tell you, it's a night I'll never forget for as long as I live.